Okay, so I am 28-year-old female and married to my husband of the same age. We have been together a long time, and I'm super close with his family. I'm glad I never had one of those dragon lady mother-in-laws. She treats me like I'm her own. So my sister-in-law, CL, is engaged to her fiancé, who seems like a nice man. My mother-in-law kept her wedding dress from when she got married, and something she really, really wanted was to have her daughter take photos in the dress. She mentioned this a few months before the wedding. My mother-in-law didn't want my sister-in-law to wear it down the aisle or anything. She just wanted some photos. I was at the dinner party when they were discussing it, and I guess my mother-in-law felt a little guilty about the fact I never wore it at my wedding, even though she views me as a daughter. I really didn't mind at all, but she kept apologizing. In the months leading up to the wedding, my sister-in-law kept gaining weight rapidly. My husband said she was depressed and stressed and always resorts to food whenever she gets like that. I understood her wedding dress was tailored, so it fit her on her wedding day. However, the mother's dress did not fit her. She and my mother-in-law were sad about it, but they went on with the wedding as normal. After sister-in-law came back from her honeymoon, my mother-in-law asked her if she thinks she'll ever lose the weight and put on the dress. I will admit the way she asked at dinner with everyone around was very rude and awkward. Sister-in-law said they could just get the dress tailored, but mother-in-law refused and said she would just save it for the grandkids. A week later, my mother-in-law invited me over and told me how badly she wants to see a child of hers wear her dress, and how she doesn't know if she'll even be alive to see a grandkid wear it, and this was her dream. So, I agreed to wear the dress and take a few photos for her. I was a little too big, but I went in, so we just didn't take any photos where you could see the back wasn't zipped. After my mother-in-law had the photos processed or whatever, she put them in frames in her house. Next time everyone was over there, people noticed it. Most of the family was just like, "It's nice to see a tradition. You look so pretty, blah, blah, blah." My sister-in-law was quiet, so I assumed she was sad. But after the dinner, me and my husband went home and sister-in-law called him crying, saying I was evil and insensitive for stealing that from her. She said other stuff my husband wouldn't tell me. I texted my mother-in-law about it to see if everything was okay, but she just told me not to worry about it because sister-in-law is just being overly sensitive. I do feel kind of bad because I know this was supposed to be a mother-daughter tradition, and I understand why sister-in-law was hurt. Usually I tend to think I'm always right, but I do think I maybe should have just declined mother-in-law's request. So, am I the idiot? Edit update IDK. I acknowledge that I should have handled this differently. At the time, I truly didn't think it was that big of a deal. And from what I've seen, my mother-in-law is not cruel to her daughter or fat-shaming her behind the scenes. And from my perspective, they have a very good relationship. Extended family dinners every Friday night, and sister-in-law also goes over to her mother's house every Sunday for church service and dinner. They are extremely close. I understand why many people are calling me an butt, but I think the level in which it is so extremely blown out of proportion. I genuinely think this will be resolved in a week. I invited my sister-in-law over for dinner to talk. She agreed and gave me an unprompted apology over text for calling my husband about the situation instead of talking to me directly, and said her emotions were high, but she calmed down now, so I'll have to wait a few hours until we have dinner to talk to her. Also, just to reiterate, I wasn't trying to be malicious. My mother-in-law asked me to wear the dress for photos because she wanted to see one of her daughters in the dress before she died and didn't want to wait 20 years for a grandkid to do it. She also didn't want the dress altered. I sent mother-in-law this Reddit post. She didn't respond to me yet, though. I also showed my husband. He is not taking anything seriously, though he kinda just giggled at the comments and kept making those divorce marry the dress type jokes. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. There is a weird power struggle going on between your mother-in-law and your sister-in-law, and you put yourself right in the middle of it. You knew that you wearing that wedding dress and taking pictures of it would hurt your sister-in-law's feelings. You totally disregarded that and did it anyway. Are you trying to prove that you're better than your sister-in-law? If that's what you were trying to do, you failed. You owe your sister-in-law an apology for your behavior. Comment 2. You said, "I know this was supposed to be a mother-daughter tradition, and I understand why sister-in-law was hurt." Also, you did it anyway. You wrecked your relationship with your sister-in-law to get brownie points from your mother-in-law. I don't know if that makes you an AH or not. Maybe it's every man woman for themselves in this family. But acting all surprised about the extremely obvious consequences does make you look like an idiot at best. Now for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. They really got me thinking. So things have been pretty tense since the whole wedding dress photo fiasco. My sister-in-law and I had that dinner, and it was awkward. She said she was sorry for overreacting, but I could tell she was still hurt. I felt terrible, like I was caught in the middle of something that was supposed to be a happy family tradition. In the weeks that followed, my mother-in-law's health took a turn for the worse. She was hospitalized with a serious condition, and it seemed like the whole dress situation was forgotten. We were all worried about her, and my sister-in-law was at the hospital every day. I visited often too, trying to support the family. But then my husband lost his job. It was unexpected, and it hit us hard. We had been saving up for a house, and suddenly we were worried about making rent. My mother-in-law's medical bills were piling up too, and the family was struggling to cover them. It felt like everything was falling apart. One day, my sister-in-law came to me with a proposal. She had found a buyer for the wedding dress, a collector who offered a significant amount of money. It was enough to help with the medical bills and give us some breathing room financially. But selling the dress would mean giving up on my mother-in-law's dream of passing it down. I was torn. On one hand, the money could really help us out. On the other, I knew how much that dress meant to my mother-in-law. It was a symbol of her marriage, her family, her dreams. But with her in the hospital, not fully conscious, we had to make a decision. My husband and I talked it over, and we decided to sell the dress. It felt like a betrayal, but we were desperate. My sister-in-law handled the sale, and we used the money to pay off some of the bills. When my mother-in-law woke up and found out, she was devastated. She didn't speak to us for days. I tried to explain, to apologize, but she just looked at me with such disappointment. It was clear that our relationship had changed. The family dinners stopped. My sister-in-law moved in with my mother-in-law to take care of her, and they became a unit, separate from us. My husband and I were left to deal with our own problems, isolated from the family we were once so close to. And then the final blow, the collector who bought the dress turned out to be a scam artist. The money was gone, and so was the dress. We were back to square one, but now without the support of our family. I never imagined that a simple act of trying to fulfill a dying woman's wish would lead to such a mess. I thought I was doing the right thing, but in the end, it cost us everything. Thanks for reading. My boyfriend's friend insults me for months, but when I find out she's cheating, I expose her and watch the drama unfold. I hope this isn't too long. I apologize in advance if it is. This whole thing is about me, a 21-year-old woman, and my boyfriend, a 24-year-old man. We met about a year ago and started dating 4 months ago. We were really good friends before, and our relationship has been super great. For a bit of context, my boyfriend is mixed race. His mom is black and his dad is white, while I am white. I have pale skin, blonde hair, blue eyes, and I am of Scandinavian descent. One of my boyfriend's best friends has a girlfriend whom we can call Kayla. Kayla is also black and around our age. Kayla is really nice to me when she's not around her boyfriend or mine. However, when we are together, she says the most offensive things to me. It all started when she asked me if I knew what kind of white girls date my boyfriend. I was going to say no, but my boyfriend told her to stop, which is very unlike him, so everyone dropped it. I asked him afterwards, and he told me it's nothing, but he was clearly annoyed about it. Another time was when she asked my boyfriend if being nerdy got him more white girls while pointing at me. I didn't know what to say, and that time her own boyfriend told her to stop. The same night she asked me if I knew a music artist, and when I said no, she laughed in my face and said, "What do you listen to then, Taylor Swift?" I didn't realize at the time she was trying to make fun of me, so I said yes, since I do. My boyfriend laughed too, but I think it was at me not caring that she was trying to be rude. That made her even angrier. The final time, 2 things happened. They were discussing student loans since my boyfriend and a few of his friends are in law school. Kayla isn't, but she is in college, and I'm also not. But I study engineering right now. After a few minutes, Kayla turned towards me and asked if I had any loans. I said no, I pay with scholarships and family help. She laughed and said, "Oh, right, I should have guessed that. I asked what she meant, and she looked at me so meanly. My boyfriend told us to drop it, but I honestly didn't realize that it was an argument, so I said no. What do you mean? She said that because I'm blonde, white, skinny, naive, and privileged, I have everything given to me. I said that isn't true. I'm a first-generation college student, so that's how I get scholarships, and I have family help because my dad died and left a life insurance policy. She was pretty quiet after that, and it got really awkward. I apologized, but then less than an hour later, she started in again. Someone else teased me and my boyfriend about getting married and having kids, and she butted in, asking if I would even know how to do their hair. I said I would know. I was a cheerleader for a long time and did everyone's hair, including black hair. She laughed at me again, and this time I did realize she was being rude, so I looked at my boyfriend. He told her to stop messing with me, and that made it worse. It ended up in them having a big argument and my boyfriend telling her she was being rude towards me, and she has been since the day we met. It finally all clicked for me, and I realized she hasn't liked me. I just haven't noticed. I told her she was being very unkind and frankly very prejudiced towards me, and that I didn't want to have to guess if she liked me or not. My boyfriend tells me I did nothing wrong, but Kayla and the other girl of the group haven't talked to me since. I feel like I'm not the jerk for defending myself, but I don't know. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. She isn't extremely prejudiced. She's discriminatory. I fail to understand how so many people in the US and the entire English-speaking world actually can deny racism and come up with different fallacies to justify it. Like, you can't be discriminatory against white people, blah blah. She's discriminatory, plain and simple. Not reverse or whatever else some people come up with. She's simply discriminatory. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You do sound a bit naive, but a nice person who did try and was being friendly. She didn't like you from the moment she saw you because you were white. Yes, white people can be jerks and privileged, but not all of them are. It's rude to judge before actually talking to them. She decided to judge you and hate you because you're white, and that is racism. Now for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. So a lot has happened in the past 3 days. The day after my last update, my boyfriend and I were invited to a small get-together. It was supposed to be a chill night, but things went south real fast. Kayla was there, and she had clearly been drinking before we arrived. She pulled me aside and apologized for her behavior, which I thought was a good sign. But then she said she only did it because my boyfriend had been talking to her about it. That stung, but I let it slide. Later in the evening, we were all playing a game where you have to tell a secret about yourself. When it was Kayla's turn, she dropped a shocker. She announced that she was pregnant. Everyone congratulated her, but then she looked straight at me and said, "I hope my child never has to deal with someone like you." The room went silent. My boyfriend tried to defend me, but Kayla's boyfriend stepped in and said we should all calm down. The next day, my boyfriend and I had a long talk. He said he was tired of the drama and suggested we take a break from hanging out with his friends for a while. I agreed, thinking it would help. But that night, I got a text from Kayla's boyfriend. He said he wanted to meet up because he had something important to tell me. We met at a coffee shop, and he confessed that Kayla had been cheating on him. He found out the baby might not even be his. He was devastated and wanted my advice because he didn't know what to do. I felt terrible for him, but I also felt a weird sense of relief that maybe Kayla's anger towards me was more about her own issues than anything I had done. I didn't tell my boyfriend about the meeting. I thought it would just add more fuel to the fire. But the next day, Kayla's boyfriend told everyone about the cheating. It was a mess. My boyfriend was furious that I knew and didn't tell him. He said it was a betrayal of his trust. I tried to explain that I was just trying to protect him from more drama, but he wouldn't listen. In the end, Kayla's boyfriend broke up with her, and she moved out of their apartment. My boyfriend is still mad at me, and now I'm not sure where we stand. I keep hoping things will go back to normal, but deep down, I know this might be the beginning of the end for us. Thanks for reading. My estranged dad grabs me at a wedding, so I call the cops and watch him get cuffed while the whole family watches. I, 33-year-old female, have been no contact with my dad, 61-year-old male, mom, 63-year-old female, and sister, 31-year-old female for the past 4 years, with limited contact for the 6 years before that. Over the weekend, my nephew got married in Vegas. His mom is a different sister that I have full contact with, and he and I are very close. While checking into my hotel, I heard my name called. I turned, and it was the three of them mentioned above. My mom came and tried to hug me, but I put my arms up and said, "We are no contact. I don't want any of you to touch me. If you touch me, I will call the police and I will press charges." My mom cried, and the other two made a big show of reprimanding me and telling me how bad of a person I am. But they backed off all the same, and I finished checking into my room. That night, there was a meet and greet kind of get-together. I was talking to the bride's family when my dad came up behind me and grabbed the back of my arm and started trying to pull me to the side, insisting that we talk. I yanked my arm free, went back to my room, and called the non-emergency number for the police. Apparently in Vegas, if the police are called for domestic violence, which was explained to me we fell under because I'm his child, they're required to arrest someone, so they arrested my dad. Now I have family members I didn't even know had my number, blowing up my phone and social media, telling me I should drop the charges and that I'm the jerk. So am I the idiot? Edit. This was a lot more than I was expecting. I kept it simple because honestly, my trauma is exactly zero of your business, and if you don't believe me, you can get bent. I will address it in generals. I moved out at 23, which is when I limited my contact with request for changed behaviors. Those behaviors didn't change and became worse, so I changed to no contact at 29. That sister still lives with our parents and is a mini-them. The mother of my nephew is very limited contact with them as well, and would have zero contact except her husband is the brother of the mini-them's husband, and they have 2 children. So 2 brothers married 2 sisters. We have another brother that is also limited contact with them, full contact with me. He doesn't allow them around his 2 children and rarely brings his wife. I have a twin brother, no children, but we also try to keep our spouses away from the 3 of them specifically. He moved out at 18 and was instantly no contact with our parents and the one sister. Originally, my dad, mom, and one sister had RSVP'd no, and are infamous for saying they can't do things financially to try to get someone else to pay. No one did, so none of us thought they were going to be there. This part is secondhand, but the arrest was in no way disruptive. The police came and spoke to me, then the employees that were in the room, then my dad. The meet and greet had already ended, so he was in his room. He told them what he did and said it was his right because I'm his daughter. Again, this is secondhand from the nephew's mother, so they arrested him. She thought it was hilarious and told my nephew, who actually didn't care, and said they weren't supposed to be there anyway. Apparently, it was the mini-them's sister that started messaging every relative under the sun to drag me. I have given a statement, and after seeing the post here, I have no intention of retracting it. I'll do what I'm asked, if anything, by the district attorney, but there is his own statement, mine, witnesses, and recordings from the lobby and the reception hall, so I don't know how far they'll want to take it. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. The charges are not up to you. The police and the district attorney are the ones who decide if he will be charged. The only reason the police ask if you want charges pressed is to gauge how much you will cooperate with any prosecution. All you did was report what happened. If the police and the district attorney decided that what he did was attack, that is on him. Comment 2. I feel the stink of some dark and hurtful past. I think it goes a lot deeper than just being strict and overbearing. I am sorry for your trauma, and I am thrilled you stood up for yourself. Regardless of the must-arrest statute, your father should have been arrested. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, after the whole mess with my dad getting arrested, things went from bad to worse. The next day, I was at the wedding, trying to keep a low profile, when my sister, the one I'm no contact with, decided to stir the pot. She cornered me outside the venue, hissing about family loyalty and how I've ruined everything. I told her to back off, but she was relentless, saying I owed it to our parents to forgive and forget. I walked away, but not before she spat out that she'd make me regret my decision. Later that evening, during the reception, my phone blew up with messages. Turns out, my sister had taken it upon herself to share my number with every relative who had a bone to pick with me. I was bombarded with texts and calls, each more accusatory than the last. I turned off my phone, but the damage was done. I felt like I was suffocating, trapped in a nightmare where everyone had turned against me. The following day, I found out that my sister had done something unforgivable. She'd gone to my workplace, spun a tale of family emergency and hardship, and somehow convinced my boss to give her my personal file. She'd taken it upon herself to broadcast my address, my salary, everything to our relatives, painting me as the villain who had abandoned her poor, suffering family. I was furious. I felt violated. My privacy, my life, had been laid bare for all to see, all because of her vendetta. I called my boss, explained the situation, and thankfully he was understanding. He promised to take action against her for her deceit, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I filed a police report for identity theft and harassment. It was a bold move, but I was done being the victim. The police took it seriously, especially given the recent incident with my dad. They started an investigation, and my sister was called in for questioning. The aftermath was like a tornado had hit. My relatives, who had been so quick to judge and harass me, suddenly went silent. The reality of the situation, the legal implications of my sister's actions, hit them hard. Some even reached out to apologize, saying they hadn't realized the extent of her lies and manipulation. As for my sister, she was charged. The evidence was undeniable. My boss's testimony, the messages she'd sent, the police report I'd filed after the wedding, it all painted a clear picture of her malice. It was a sobering moment for my family. They saw her for who she really was, and the facade of the perfect family crumbled. I didn't take pleasure in her downfall, but I couldn't deny the sense of relief that washed over me. For years, I'd been the black sheep, the one who walked away. But now, the truth was out, and I could finally breathe without the weight of their judgment on my shoulders. Thanks for reading this far. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.